the Portland Trail Blazers hired Chauncey Billups, and there has been a lot of backlash to this hiring. Since he got hired and before he got hired as well, allegations from 1997 came up towards him. If you guys don't know what happened, in 1997, an unidentified woman accused Billups and other NBA players of rape while he was playing for the Boston Celtics as a rookie. Multiple reports state that Billups denied any non-consensual sex between the two and said any sexual interaction they did was consensual. But this allegation was enough to raise people on Twitter to talk about this and to not want Billups to be the head coach for the Portland Trail Blazers. And in your guys' opinions, do you think that this was fair? Do you think that this criticism is fair? Do you think the backlash that Billups is receiving is warranted? Or do you think that it's from 1997 and you don't know why they're bringing it up now?
So like you mentioned, it is a difficult conversation to have, but some things need to be spoken about. So this Chauncey Billups situation is definitely a tough one because this was a very long time ago, over 20 years ago, and I haven't heard much other than this. I'll be honest. Besides today, this is the first I'm hearing of these allegations, and you look at Chauncey and what he's done with his career ever since then. He hasn't done anything for me to have known that, and that information. He's been a great player in the NBA for the Pistons. He was a great leader in that locker room. Went to the Nuggets, was a leader in that locker room. Was a leader basically everywhere he's gone. Gets hired by ESPN. You've heard nothing of any ill word of Chauncey Billups up until this point. But of course, do I understand the criticism? I 100% get it, especially in our climate now. We need to look out for everyone. However, in this specific situation, it's a little bit more difficult because you look at there's 30 jobs in the NBA for a head coaching position. Would you want these positions to be filled by people of squeaky clean records in a perfect world? Of course. But in every world, there's people that make mistakes. But for this specific situation, there was reports that he believed that this was consensual. The woman and him had come to a settlement, which means that they had agreed to terms of the situation that she was accusing Chauncey of. So I feel as if Chauncey having this come back to haunt him, especially after this much time has passed, is a little bit unfair, especially when there was no charges specifically pressed against him, which is why I feel like this is being blown a little bit out of proportion. However, I 100% get it. It's only right that, especially with a job as critically acclaimed as a head coaching gig in the NBA, there's bound to be some kind of speculation. You'd want that head coach to be have a perfect, clean record. Yeah. But I feel as if it's a little bit harsh to try and bring it up, especially after we haven't heard anything for years.
Nobody in this world is perfect.
What?
In saying that,
especially not you.
In saying that, nobody in this world, not everybody in this world, also has a rape allegation against them. So I don't think perfect necessarily equates to that. But with that being said, I think the backlash he's been receiving is good and bad. I think it's good because it shows that people care. It shows that people care whether these head coaching jobs are filled with people that are good people. And obviously a rape allegation is a big deal. And if Chauncey Billups did do this, I hope he doesn't get a job anywhere.
Definitely.
I hope that he's fine with the money that he's made in the NBA, but that's a really bad thing to do. Rape is a serious thing. In saying that, all these people on Twitter, and I think people in the media as well, they are chastising Chauncey Billups off of an allegation. And Chauncey Billups right now is getting caught in the crossfire of what's going on because this is something that's been brewing for years on years on years. And what's been brewing, you ask? What's been brewing is that since the dawn of time, women have been getting sexually assaulted, and for a long time they have been having to not say anything because either men wouldn't believe them or they wouldn't get their just due. So a lot of women just stay quiet in these situations. With that being said, when something like this happens to Chauncey Billups, where sexual allegations are pressed against him, a lot of people go and believe the woman that said these claims. And that's not a bad thing to do. But at the same time, we have to understand that all we know is that there was a settlement in court. All we know is that there was either consensual or non-consensual oral sex that happened. And with the settlement is basically saying it was probably leaning towards non-consensual. So to chastise Chauncey Billups for that, I think is a little bit too much. And since 1997, for one, this case was settled in 2000. He racked up a Hall of Fame career as a player. Everywhere he's been as a player outside of Boston, teammates loved him. He was a leader. He has a family, a wife. Looks like he's a good family man. I don't know him personally, but he looks like he's a family man. He's gotten gotten offered the GM position for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He worked for ESPN. On the coaching staffs he's been as an assistant, he's gotten praise by the likes of Paul George. Damian Lillard wanted Kidd or Billups. Those were his two preferred candidates. Since that incident, either whether it was consensual or non-consensual, right now I'm leaning towards it was non-consensual. Billups has not done anything that has made me say, wow, this guy doesn't deserve a job. I mean, he's been as good as you can be. So to bring up those allegations now, I think is a bit unfair. And he's just getting caught in the crossfire because everybody's so emotional right now, because most of the times when men do stuff like this, they get away. Maybe Chauncey Billups was one of them, but maybe he wasn't. But I think right now we're in a position, well, people are in a position where they are setting him out to be guilty instead of innocent. And if you're asking Chauncey or the Blazers front office about these allegations, what are they supposed to say? I know people want transparency right now, but what are they supposed to say? Chauncey Billups obviously wants to not talk about this because I would imagine it was a traumatic experience for him at the time. He was 20 years old. He was either, let's say it wasn't true. He was facing something that could have ruined his life. So obviously he doesn't want to go back to that 24 years later and talk about it. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace to him, before he passed away, Jeff Pearlman, who was on the show promoting his 3-Ring Circus book, couldn't get an interview with Kobe for his book because Kobe didn't want to talk about those early 2000 Lakers teams because Jeff Pearlman was going to interview him and ask him questions about the rape case. But Kobe didn't want to talk about that because he's a changed man. Billups is a changed man. We don't know if what he did was non-consensual. And if it was non-consensual, like I said, he deserves every punishment that he gets. But if it was consensual, I can totally understand why they don't want to talk about it. What more is there to be transparent about? The records are there. The settlement is there. The files are there. The records are there. What else is there to be more transparent about?
You know, rape, I don't mean to smile. I'm just always smiling. But rape is
an uncomfortable thing. Some people react.
It's very serious. You know, I live with my mom, my grandma, and my sister. So rape is kind of hits me different because I was growing up and I was raised around 3 women in my household all the time. I'm surrounded by women all the time, whether it be grandmas, cousins, moms. So rape hits different because it could be one of them. You know what I'm saying? So, but like you said, 1997, we weren't even born. So to bring this up after a career of being a good dad, being a good husband, no other allegations, being a great coach, great teammate. Like you said, Paul George, Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, Kawhi Leonard even, who does not speak, have talking highly of Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is praised around the whole league. And to sit here and like you said, it's a 50-50 thing because on one end it could be true. On one end, it couldn't be true. And it's like you have to kind of play that 50-50 line. But I don't think you should start the judging part as if he's guilty because then when if it eventually comes out and you were wrong, now you want to play the I'm so sorry card. I think you should kind of tread that line of like, I'm not going to say nothing until I know the truth. So I think people on Twitter are sensitive. People on Twitter, they like to jump to gun. And I understand women's perspective, but we have to also look at the world as women lie too. and women try to catch guys in the act. And not all guys are guilty. You know, some guys have been caught where they didn't do anything. Woman is just trying to lie because they got caught being a, you know. So it's like we have to play that 50-50 line. And I feel like people who have changed their life from that moment on to now shouldn't need to talk about it. You shouldn't even need to bring up about it. First of all, the Portland Trailblazers have probably dug into the situation 10, 15 times already.
Yeah.
So they probably have got all the information. They wouldn't have hired him if it was in fact the truth. So the fact that they did hire him and felt that they feel that he is innocent to a fault. So I think people should just accept the fact that he got they should be proud of him for getting that coaching spot. People have talked high on him, and they should not bring up stuff that they don't know is true. They don't know. They weren't there. They don't know what happened. He's tried to change his life from that moment on. It was 1997. I'm not saying get over it, but the world is a different place. He is a different place. He has bettered his life, so we should just, get on with our life.
A wise man once said, "The apologies were never as much as a stone's thrown." That wise man was me. I just came up with that right now.
There's no way you just came up with that.
I swear to God, I just came up with
Repeat it one more time.
The apologies are never as much as the stones thrown.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Correct.
Which means that
You sure you made that up?
I think, I don't know. Search it up. Maybe
Sounds
it's on.
good,
Maybe
bro.
it's
Nah,
on.
go.
No, it actually sounded really good. That's
Joel
why.
Moran.
This is the thing, right? On Twitter, everybody's chastising Billups, and I don't think we'll ever know the truth to what happened.
Oh, never.
But let's say somehow we do. People will just ignore it, kind of like Paul George having a good game, right? He has a bad game. Oh, he sucks. Oh, he's this, he's that. He has a good game. Everybody's silent. Like you guys mentioned, Chauncey Billups has bettered his life. And women, when they go through sexual assault or something similar to that, those are traumatic experiences that shape their life. And they go through traumatic things, and I feel bad. And I hope that doesn't happen to anybody. With that being said, when men get accused of something they did not do, they also go through traumatic experiences because now they have that stain and reputation. Imagine being Chauncey Billups, thinking what you did was consensual, and now this is getting thrown in your face, right? I understand the Jason Kidd criticism because he admitted to beating his wife. There are actually charges against him. As a head coach, he got a DUI. But Chauncey has been nothing but squeaky clean. And last year, the narrative in the NBA around coaches was that not enough black coaches are getting an opportunity. This year, Kidd gets hired. Chauncey gets hired.
Kidd is black?
Mixed.
He's of course.
Wow.
Yeah, he
Really?
just looks mixed. Yeah, he's
I
mixed.
never even thought he was black. Wow.
Ime Udoka gets hired as well. 3 coaches of, that are diverse. But now that's not good enough. Now it's, why isn't Becky Hammon hired? Why isn't there a woman coach? And I'm not saying Becky Hammon doesn't deserve a job, because she does, and I think she'll get one eventually.
Okay.
But people constantly move the goalposts of what they want to see done. First, it was, we need more black coaches. Okay, this offseason you got that. Now it's, why did Billups or a Kidd get a job over Becky Hammon?
People were greedy.
So what do people really want? It seems like people are constantly moving the goalposts on this type of subject. And I think this criticism is a bit uncalled for, but then again, people are emotional. People want to see justice. People, if this was in fact true, they don't want to see Chauncey as a head coach. So I understand where that is coming from. But also, we can't just jump the gun and say this guy shouldn't be head coach because he did this or he did that. These are allegations. That's like, I hate to bring him up again because I want him to rest in peace, but that's like Kobe. If Kobe got a head coaching job, I don't think anybody would be against it. Nobody would be against it. But if he gets hired, all of a sudden they'll bring up his allegations, his rape allegations, even though, that it was already dealt with. And I believe he settled out of that as well.
Yeah.
So why bring up something that Chauncey did, which was way before what Kobe did? I just think Chauncey's kind of getting a bit unfair criticism right now. And I understand where people are coming from. But I think this is stemming more from 2 things. People wanted to see Becky Hammon hired, and people are also, this is a very touchy subject, and this is kind of like accusing somebody of murder, right? So if you accuse somebody of murder, you automatically think they're guilty, or they have allegations of murder. You automatically think they're guilty because it's such a serious crime.
Correct.
And that's why people are reacting so strong to it. And I like that because it shows that we're progressing as a society. And I think Chauncey Billups was just caught in the crossfire of what's happening, and he has to deal with this. And, I feel bad because it's a lot to deal with. Imagine you being so far removed from that situation 20 years later. This is coming back at you at what is supposed to be one of the best moments in your life, getting a head coaching job, other than probably getting drafted.
Yeah.
It's a lot to deal with, and the front office is dealing with this just as well. And they want the GM Neil Olshley, I think that's how you pronounce it, to be transparent. But what is there to be transparent about? Is he supposed to say Billups is guilty even though he doesn't think he's guilty?
Yeah.
Let's say if he says that Billups is innocent, then people are gonna call him a liar. People are gonna criticize him for saying that. If he says he's guilty, well, that's like,
why would you hire him?
That's
such the worst thing.
That's such a bigger deal.
Correct.
If he says nothing, he gets criticized for saying nothing and not being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, he can't win in this situation. So him saying nothing at all and saying you just have to trust our word is the best thing he can say at this moment, which is what he said and what he got criticized for. But outside of the allegations, I thought Portland getting Chauncey Billups basketball-wise
outstanding move.
Was an outstanding move.
Amazing.
If we're just talking basketball, I think it was an outstanding move, and we don't know the truth. Nobody knows the truth except the people that were there. All we know is that it was either consensual or non-consensual, and we don't know what exactly happened, and we probably will never know.